This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl, episode number 93.
No, yes.
How you doing after your last shot?
Uh, Teddy Ruffskin, but I'm fine. I'm fine. It's just like, ugh, I don't want to talk about it. But I'm getting
Well,
through it.
I feel great. Well, you don't have to worry about it because we're not going anywhere too soon now that the U.S. State Department has decided Americans should not go to 80% of the other countries because of the pandemic. But, however, Timothy, I think
Yes.
we're going to go to Iceland soon. How about that?
Well, Iceland's interesting because they believed in science the whole time. Only, I think, 60 people died in the whole year there.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small population, close to 400,000, but still, that's very few. And in an island, these things can explode. So they kept it down the whole time, and now they're opening up. With their measures, and they said, okay, at some point, you gotta open up. And
Well, you know what I always say: open wide for Chunky. We're coming through.
well, that's sounds awesome. There's that, but there's a lot of other stuff in the news.
Yeah, well, all right. I got to get into this though.
Yes.
Journalists covering a protest in Minneapolis last week, and this is before the verdict went down, were forced on their stomachs by law enforcement, rounded up, only released after having their face and press credentials photographed. This occurred only a few hours after a judge issued a temporary order barring the Minnesota State Patrol from using physical force or chemical agents against journalists. Like that frickin' mattered.
I mean, everyone, and for the listener, they're going to hear this probably on Friday, maybe late Thursday night. So this is Wednesday. So we're the day after the verdict being read, and I mean, the whole country would have exploded if the verdict wasn't what it was. So
the protesters are peaceful for now, but if they actually realize that since March 29th of this year, 64 people have died at the hands of law enforcement. That's in less than a frickin' month.
Right.
Okay. And let's just speak about, I don't know how many of that was mostly by guns. As of last Friday, there have been, I can't even believe this number, 147 mass shootings in the U.S. this year.
God. So yesterday in Long Island, there was some guy went nuts in I think a Stop and Shop or something like that.
73% increase over last year. Psychologists describe this, and so do I, as a contagion. And, the more people do it, the more people will do it. Now, in the meantime, the Republicans, cunts, in the Texas House of Representatives just passed a so-called constitutional carry law, which means anybody, doesn't matter, over 21, experienced or not, concealed or not, can carry a fucking gun in Texas. This is how far gone it is. The Democrats proposed just limiting gun magazines to no more than 10 rounds. Republicans are outraged. I mean, after all, if they're going to engage in their ridiculous war against affordable college, Medicare, wealth tax on billionaires, I guess if that's the war Republicans are waging, no wonder they feel that they need more than 10 frickin' rounds.
Well, so what's interesting about that, or I should say the inconsistency about that, and it was the same, and then right down the middle was Bloomberg, who claims he's into gun control, but would always defend the cops when they would shoot someone here in New York. So it's like gun control for who? You kind of can't have it both ways. So,
well, Chauvin, that is chauvinist, that ignorant killer cop now sitting in a cement cell. He had 22 complaints in 19 years against him. Nothing.
Wasn't there a run-in? Wasn't he also like a weekend warrior security guard at some club? And didn't he run into Chauvin? This kind of like
Floyd and Chauvin worked at the same club at one point.
Oh, they worked at the same club. Okay.
Doing security. But I mean, everybody that came into contact with Chauvin, I mean, they were complaining about him. But again, this is not only the blue wall of silence. It's just I'm not sure it's going to get any better, because with right wingers, with militia, with neo-Nazis in the military and the police force, how are you going to weed them out anyway? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, right now, and as we're seeing crime going up in New York and a lot of the cities, I think there is a thing that the police are doing, like, see, you need us. Like they're kind of like stepping back and like, I told you need us. I'm very curious what this summer's going to look like.
Well, first of all, I do not think police should be in charge of traffic violations. We can start there, because that's where so many people are getting executed on the highway. Oh, you had an air freshener on your now the cops have even pulled over black kids on bicycles because they don't have bicycle licenses. I've never even freaking heard of a bicycle license.
I didn't find out until yesterday that in most states, including New York, where I live, the little suction cup thing for your phone GPS on the windshield, you can get pulled over for that.
Yeah, well, only if you're black while driving, I guess. They need more training in how to control themselves and then how to de-escalate a situation. But I don't think there should be a separate union of people that are in charge of traffic violations, the same way that there's meter maids, because I just don't think that's the right application, because then you got cops cruising around bored looking for someone to kill.
Definitely they should not be judge, jury, and executioner. I mean, they definitely shouldn't be that.
Well, and I'm still very insulted because, I do occasionally, like a man in uniform, even an occasional cop, but that's only to, perform my own executions psychologically usually. But pulling over a man, somebody who's in the military, coming from training, and pepper spraying them and their dog for nothing. I mean, this is what is it going to be next? Well, and it is often you looked at me wrong.
Here's my Tim Dahl solution, and
I can't wait.
And I have one for wars too, but this is for police for police violence, and actually it's the same solution I have for public school teachers. Pay them a lot more to make it an extremely competitive job, because morons shouldn't have this job. And it sounds
same as the military.
It sounds elitist, but like, if you're going to give this amount of duties to a police officer, which is basically being a social worker, just being all these things, it's just too much to handle if you have subpar intelligence. It just is. I mean, seriously, make it a competitive job that's desirable. 6 figures. Look,
there's got to be full accountability for crimes committed by the police. And also, it's like driver's license in other countries. It's like in Germany, you have to go to school for 6 months to get a driver's license. How much training do police have? And obviously not enough. And especially even when I would have said all woman police force, but we just had a woman shoot somebody the other day who's supposed to be a trainer, 19 years experience on the police force, reaching for taser and reaches for her gun. Excuse me. I know the difference between a gun and a taser.
Wasn't one of the cops with Chauvin he was being trained? It was like, I don't know if it was his first day, but he was being trained. So I'm curious with his verdict, what's going to happen to those other 3.
Well, another thing I think is important that's coming up a lot, especially out of the mouths of protesters. And I totally believe this, that why shouldn't the police live in the community that they're policing, so that at least they have some understanding about the issues? And also, so many of these murders lately have been about people that have mental health issues, and the police should not be called for mental health issues. The police have mental health issues.
That's a even broader thing, not just with police violence, with all the social issues we're having. And I'm not going to go down the list right now, but just all the shit that we're like 2021, like, what are we as a society? It seems like no one wants to broach, like, hey, maybe people have mental health issues. People get really defensive when you bring that up. But
look, it's obvious there are mental health issues. And I think part of the problem is the fact that, well, first of all, fear, which can drive people insane, being lied to your whole life about how great America is and how many opportunities there are, until you realize there really frickin' isn't, unless you're in that really exclusive 1 to 10%, or you can afford to go in debt the rest of your life to go to college for classes you'll never fucking utilize. I mean, there's so many different issues this country with 350 million people. We just need to start again. I mean, it's not working. And the thing is, it seems that there's been a little progress, but for about 4 years, we were going all the hell the way backwards in time.
Well, speaking of going backwards, death row inmate Zane Michael Floyd, he and his lawyer are insisting that he dies by firing squad over lethal injection. Now,
I don't blame him.
Well, Nevada used to have it until not that long ago, but they no longer have it. Mississippi, Oklahoma, Utah, and the U.S. military are the only ones that still have it. And his lawyer is basically saying it's cruel and unusual punishment. These injections are kind of slow deaths. He just wants to be blasted out, kind of the same way he got himself in trouble to begin with. I guess it was in 1999. In Vegas, he went into a supermarket and just did one of these mass shootings.
Well, the thing is, if you can choose your last supper, I don't see why you can't choose the method of execution if you're going to live in a country that believes justice means death to the other person.
Yeah. So yeah, his lawyer is they're arguing for a firing squad. So that we'll see if Nevada.
He's probably a Trumper because wasn't Trump crying about that? And I can't wait till he gets the frickin' firing squad. Now let's go from criminal acts and criminal cops to criminally stupid acts.
Sure.
You probably got a few of those up your sleeve.
Well, I got some silly ones. Sure.
Well, two women, aged 39 and 61, tried unsuccessfully to use a $1 million bill at a dollar store in Tennessee.
Wait.
Let me say that again. Two women aged 39 and 61 tried unsuccessfully to use a $1 million bill at the general store, dollar store in Tennessee. Now, what, do they even think the dollar store has that much change? Amanda,
who's on the cover? Like their perception of God or something?
Well, there you go. She said, the one woman said, "Hey, I'm just along for the ride, but I think she got this bill from God in the mail from a church." Of course, they couldn't name.
I was right.
What church?
Oh my God! So they drew like a god and they wrote like $1 million. Did they get the full 6 zeros in there?
They actually, it was so stupid they let him go. It's like this is a crime so dumb we can't even do anything. The hell out of it.
I mean, so if you're just really dumb, that could be one thing. I mean, of course, I'm always thinking there's drugs involved here. I mean, were you on tons of speed? Now, if you were on like mushrooms or some kind of psychedelic, I mean, that would be kind of like a joke gesture for sure.
I mean, you're lucky if you can get change for a $10 bill at the dollar store. What are you fucking thinking?
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe the guy that works there, yeah. Did he call the cops or what happened?
I have no idea.
I mean,
anyway,
that would have been insane if there was another Chauvin situation to call the cops for like a counterfeit dollar and the women are killed by a cop for a fake $1 million.
Hey, if you can get killed for a counterfeit $20 bill, well, they should have actually been chopped into little pieces and served as stew to the homeless.
Yeah, the National Guard should have been called for a fake $1 million bill.
They must have been some dumb white chicks. Okay, something that's even dumber, and you gotta love this.
Yes.
And this does involve two drunk friends, men. Okay. Yeah. They were left with swollen penises after injecting each other.
Oh no.
With a hemorrhoid cream.
Why?
They thought it would give them extra girth. So
aren't hemorrhoid creams kind of anti-inflammatory when they're
I said they were dumb. And the thing is, they injected each other. So they complained that it started to hurt, and they went to the medics, and every time the medics touched their now deflamed penises, it hurt. Well, they actually even printed the pictures in a medical journal in France showing the extent of it.
Smart.
So they did swell up a bit, but it blocked the lymph vessels in their penis, stopping the body from clearing the excess fluid and causing it to swell. Both men were told, "Hey, go take some painkillers." Sure, what's going to cause that? Maybe swelling will go down.
There is more to that story.
Well, they don't. They might have permanently damaged their sensitive penises, but if you don't like your size, guys, you can just strap one on for the ladies. Not everyone's a size queen, but yeah, it doesn't hurt to have one in your back pocket just in case.
There's more to that story. They were doing something.
I'm still investigating.
Yeah. All right. Did you hear about these? I don't know. Out of nowhere, there's been this series of bobcat attacks.
I love it.
Because bobcats are kind of hard to spot. They don't like hanging out with humans that much. But, one of them was rabid in North Carolina. This couple, and this is their name, Christy and Happy Wade. The guy's name is Happy. Well, they weren't so happy when this rabid bobcat, when they're just kind of going into car in their little driveway or wherever it was, just kind of just latches on to Christy and starts biting her. And she's like, what the fuck? Ouch. And then she tries to get it off, but the thing just clings onto her back and keeps on biting her. So then Happy runs over to deal with the bobcat. There's video of this, so you should check it out.
I did. I saw it. Trust
me.
me.
It's like biting this guy, and then the guy fucking body slams the bobcat like 10 feet against the yard as hard as he can. I guess he takes out a pistol and shoots it, but doesn't die. The police come. Well, the thing was rabid. So they had to, now they're going.
How did they know it was rabid? Maybe it was just horny.
No, they shot the thing, and so they have to bring it in when a wild animal bites.
I saw a video of an attempted carjacking, and it was like two teenagers and the guy, and one had a gun, and the guy just took the guy with the gun and body slammed him to the ground. They ran away. I'm like, hey, sometimes you just got to act on instinct.
Well, I get it. A bobcat's pretty scary if it's biting you and it's latching on.
So is a carjacking.
Wildcat. But at one point, Happy Wade realized, wait a second, I'm 5 times the size of this thing, and he just fucking body slammed.
Hey, I'm 1,000 times the size of a spider, but they almost killed me. So you got to be careful.
Well, then yesterday in Colorado, some 5-year-old, 6-year-old girl was out playing in her backyard. It's all video. Bobcat enters the yard, and
bobcats the new coyotes?
I don't know what's going on, but this little girl did a Clint Eastwood stare down with the thing, and a bobcat, it was a solid, minute, and they're staring at each other, and the girl fucking freaked that thing out. It realized, like, oh, this girl's not messing around, and took off. But, and then the girl ran back in the house and said, Mom, I saw a bobcat.
Well, maybe she wisely played possum, and the bobcat was not interested.
Yeah, the bobcat got spooked.
Anyhow,
so right now Tesla stock went down a little bit because self-driving car, they have the self-driving car option. A lot of idiots are like really liking to test it. So these two guys in the Houston area, one was in the passenger seat, one was in the back seat. No one's in the driver's seat. You're supposed to still be in the driver's seat when you have the self-driving thing. And there's a safety mechanisms if you're not there for the car not to drive, but there's all these techniques that you can see on YouTube, or you put pressure with tennis balls into the steering wheel so it feels like a grip, and then you put some weight on the chair, so somehow it tricks the computer, and so people are just going on these long rides and hanging out while the car's driving itself. While the thing drove into a tree and exploded.
All right, is this another one? Is this another Elon Musk failure?
Well, it's
look. I'm making a personal plea right now.
Sure.
Exploding cars, exploding satellites, exploding rocket ships. Hey, I'm about to explode, and I don't even cost that much. So hey, I got some stuff I'd love you to invest in, my friend. And you know what? I'm not going to die tomorrow. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, okay. I'm okay with the self-driving car, but I don't think it's wise not to sit in the driver's seat.
I'd rather drive a bobcat, to tell you the truth.
I would pay to see that.
Well, you know me. I've been known to ride an animal or two in my day. So, should we tie this up, Timmy? I think we should.
Well, yeah. I'm now looking at the text. Lydia, I get your texts hours, sometimes days after you send them. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Well, I'll tell you this: you gotta stimulate more your psychic abilities, because you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
when I want you.
You're right.
I don't know why that is. Why I don't know why you have a delay with me.
I have to do direct text with you because I think with the group thing, it's maybe not working.
Well, I feel the same way about group sex. It just rarely works. Yeah, I mean, I've tried it. I can't say it was very successful. It's like, it's hard enough for one man to deal with me, much less a group of them. Let's just face facts.
There you go.
Well, that's their problem, not mine. Anyway, this is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, episode number 93. And we have Andy Shernoff of the Dictators coming up next. This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and our very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Andy Shernoff. Let me just start out by saying, Andy, you have been so kind to me because as I was nomading, you took me in like the orphan I always was, and I must appreciate that. And thank you very much, my friend.
My pleasure. Always glad to help a lost soul.
And I know where you live, just in case it happens to me again.
Okay.
You never know.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen from what I understand.
Well, I also know how to hitchhike, so just be could just be could just be an uninvited. I would always call first. How you doing, Andy?
Comparatively very well. If I look back, and we certainly have started to turn the corner, and I got my last shot yesterday, as I'm a senior citizen. We've done pretty well from where I am. I've been able to work. I know a lot of people that are stuck in your apartments. I'm able to get out. I'm in the country. I'm in a rural area, so pretty well. And my wife, Carla, has done very well. As a matter of fact, she's going to have her photos in the New York Times, an article written by her and about her photos in the New York Times next Monday.
Cool. Wildlife photographs?
About her trip to India. I think you know about this, Lydia. I think, right? Did she tell you about it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. No, her photography is so amazing and it's so important. And she's shooting things that nobody else can get to go see. It's so important. She really found her voice.
It's some series in the Times about photographers, what they're doing in the pandemic, if they're traveling. Anyway, they're going to do her photos of India, and she talks about her trip to India, and obviously very, very exciting for
and you're speaking about the fabulous Carla Rhodes, who's an amazing performer, ventriloquist, wildlife photographer, and happens to live with Andy Shernoff. Andy, we met, I don't even think I was in Teenage Jesus yet. That's how long we've known each other.
I think you were about 15 years old when I met you.
Maybe
do you
16.
remember the day? Do you remember the time and the day that?
No.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. I wasn't really friends. I knew Bradley. I was kind of friendly with him.
Bradley Field, the drummer of Teenage Jesus.
But it was crazy times. And people were all around and hooking up with everybody. It was just, and so you were around there.
Well, I kind of pounced on Ross.
Ross was a little cutie in those days, right? A little baby face.
I was a little cutie too. He was much bigger than I was, though. Anyway. What's interesting to me is, and there's just so much to talk to you about, because not only being born and bred in Queens, New York, but being an early music fan and starting a fanzine when you were just a young whippersnapper yourself called Teenage Wasteland. I love that picture too that was on the Please Kill Me website of Mark Bolan reading Teenage Wasteland.
Yeah, I have one of Alice Cooper reading it also.
Cool.
We'll talk about that later. So
absolutely.
How old were you when you started that? Because that then led for your foray into rock journalism and working with or under the auspice, one of my favorite writers, Lester Bangs, and Richard Meltzer is not to be discounted, although I wouldn't mind slapping him once or twice in the face because he deserves it, but that's all right. Maybe I already have.
You're in college when you started your...
Yeah, I just started college. I was probably, my first year, I was still getting my feet wet. And second year, I knew this is not the place for me. And somehow I had an obsession with music and rock and roll and rock. I love rock reading every magazine I get my hands on. I said, I'm going to start a little magazine about my friends. So I did one magazine about my friends, and all my friends loved it. So I did another one, and my buddy Scott Kempner, who later we played in the Dictators, knew Meltzer and knew his address. So I sent him a copy of magazine, and then I called him or something, and he was great. It was great. It's great. And at the same time, Lester Bangs was in his house. So Lester Bangs and Nick Tosches, they were all a kind of a trio of troublemakers.
Yeah, and let me just jump in case people who don't know who they are. I mean, first of all, Lester Bangs and Richard Meltzer, I mean, they're really some of the first gonzo rock journalists, and they're really the top of the pile. And Nick Tosches, an amazing writer. I got to interview him once. A great writer of books, sometimes about people in the music industry, or The Hand of Dante, which was amazing. And Lester Bangs, by the way, that was the last time I was actually reviewed in Rolling Stone, because Lester, for some reason, loved me. I don't know why he loved me. I guess I was cute. He wrote about Queen of Siam. That was the last time I was ever in Rolling Stone. But Lester Bangs, I mean, what a character, and how great to be in that company as somebody who just, I'm going to make a fanzine about my friends. And then these guys actually invite you into the club.
They did. Yeah, it was and I was young. I was maybe 19 years old at the time. I'm not sure. It was kind of thrilling. I was pretty happy about that. You know, you guys accepted me. And, you know, when you're a kid, you didn't have a direction. You don't know where you're going. All of a sudden, these guys say, and they're taking me to these press parties, and I'm meeting Lou Reed. And I met like all these writers, and it was just really exciting times for me. And this is before I even thought of being a musician. I had no idea I would be a musician.
So how much longer after starting to write about first your friends and then going to these parties with rockers that you actually admired, did you say, okay, that's from, I got to do that, I'm going to do that too?
Be a musician?
Yep.
I was going to school in State University of New York at New Paltz, and Ross was playing in a band called Total Crud, and they were doing covers, they were all right, but they were going nowhere. One day, Ross was even then, he was a great musician. He's one day I'm walking down the street, I see Ross, he goes to me, I think I'm gonna quit Total Crud, and I don't know, I want to start a new band. And I said, I'll play bass.
Nice.
But I never played bass before. I didn't own a bass. I didn't have a bass, and we just knew we had similar MC5 Stooges, Alice Cooperish kind of rock taste. And then we said, let's get Scott, and Scott actually owned the guitar. He never played it outside of his bedroom. He'd never been in a band, but it was like, look at Scott. And then Ross found this farmhouse in in Kerhonkson, New York, for $150 a month. Basically, we did one drug deal, and we paid the rent. And we just became a band. You know?
And were you practicing all the time? Like, was there a agreed upon kind of ambition, or you just kind of just let it happen? You just started playing shows.
We started off like playing covers and switching instruments, and then I started writing songs, and they liked them, and they encouraged me. I mean, without that encouragement, I would have had the courage to keep on writing songs. I would write songs for myself in my room, but they said, yeah, well, this is good. We're having parties also. This was a house. We're having parties,
right?
Girls and drugs, not hard drugs, but smoking pot and the wild things going on, beer, and what in 19
college boy kind of shit.
College boys, right? So after I don't know, I guess it wasn't weeks, probably months, we had about 10 songs, and we invited Sandy Perlman to come hear us at this house, and he came up and he said, I like it. I'm going to get you a deal.
Amazing.
So we moved back to New York. We moved back with our parents. I lived in Queens. Scott lived in the Bronx. I mean, when we were going through drummers, I have to add that it was like Spinal Tap thing. It was just around, always drummers coming and going.
Even with a deal, did you guys get like an advance? Was this?
Well, let me tell you the story.
Okay.
We had this drummer, Louis, and we made a demo tape with him at this studio. It was a 30th Street Columbia record studio, very famous studio. It was an old church. Barbra Streisand, Miles Davis, Bob Dylan used to record there. That got us a deal, and I couldn't play. I could barely play. Scott could barely play. Ross could play, and we had a drummer who was pretty good. Now, the interesting thing is, we recorded 5 songs on this demo, and one of those songs is now our most played song on Spotify.
Whoa.
With over 1 million plays. It's our highest ranked.
Which song?
Master Race Rock.
Oh, okay. Fun
little ditty.
Right.
I fear who might have adopted that as their theme song, but they're out there, and thank you for that penny a song, Spotify.
Well, we make money from Spotify. Keeps the band going now, surprisingly enough.
Oh, fantastic.
Along with some other like Sound Exchange. But Master Race, by the way, are teenagers. It's not like Nazis or anything. So we got the deal, and there's a problem with this guy Louis, who was actually a good drummer. I don't remember why he left, and he left, and then we started auditioning, and which was a pain in the ass, and we ended up hiring this guy Stu Boy King, who was really a pain in the ass. He was a kind of a good-looking guy. He had a clear drum set, and he was a friends of friends. So we had him in the band, but he was like a Buddy Rich fan, and he was spoiled rich kid, and we were all middle class, lower middle class. But
he was good, and you wanted him anyways, even though no one really liked him.
I didn't know what's a good drummer? He looked the part,
Okay.
And sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Sure.
In our case, it didn't quite work out. And that was a weakness of our first album. So we made the record with him, and then we fired him, I think, like a week before the record came out.
Oh, whoa. Why'd you fire him?
We had a gig. Maybe it was after the record came out. I don't remember. I don't know. I'd have to check the timing of that. We had a gig. This is the Dictators, amateur punk rock, obnoxious teenagers, actually probably 20 years old by the time.
Right.
Opened up for Rush. Didn't go that well. They kicked us off 4-night stand in Atlanta, and they kicked us off after like the second or third night.
What year was that? What year was that, Andy?
That was 75. Yes, 1975.
All right. The year I was born.
Yeah. He was just obnoxious. I remember we were coming back from Atlanta, and we dropped them off at the bus terminal at George Washington Bridge. We said goodbye.
Oh boy.
And the real thing, we ended up getting a really good drummer, this guy Richie Teeter, who has unfortunately passed away. That's the early days of the Dictators.
Okay.
You were opening for some pretty incredible acts in the early days. I mean, Blue Oyster Cult, a double bill with Iggy Pop. Is this right? Iggy Pop, the Stooges, Blue Oyster Cult, and early Dictators?
My first show, at my first time ever on stage with Blue Oyster Cult, Iggy and the Stooges.
Oh, it's insane.
It was totally insane.
Wait, which venue? Which venue?
Prince George Community College, in the gym there.
Okay.
The college gym. We drove down there. I think we drove back that same night, actually.
Were you singing at that point, Andy?
Yeah. Don't me. Manitoba was in the band then. And dig this, you got to understand this. We opened for Billy Preston at Virginia Tech. That's in
Blacksburg, Virginia.
Yeah, that's the center where who's the preacher that's Liberty University down there.
Okay.
And who's the preacher from Liberty University?
Roberts, Falwell.
Ding, 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 ding. Lydia, you got it.
All hell for 500.
In those days, there was no series of punk rock clubs. You can't go from Atlanta to New Orleans to Austin to another, there are no clubs. We had to get on bills with major tours. So we were always like the third band on the bill. And it was never working out. We couldn't, kids didn't really relate to us at that time. It was kind of fun. We were not obnoxious. We were making really.
Were you getting booed or heckled or just more apathy or not?
Apathy towards we don't like you, with a few kids liking us, a little more leaning. I say mainly apathy. I don't know. They probably felt sorry for us.
So when you come back to New York, did you just feel discouraged, or just like, well, I guess that's what being in a band is until you make it super famous?
We were discouraged.
All right. Okay.
It's discouraging when you're out there and you think you're the next big thing, and people aren't paying attention to you. So.
But when you would play in New York, it would be different because you'd be around your peers, right? I mean, you'd have
New York was over. New York was different.
Yeah.
Those days, we were playing the Coventry, which was the glam rock club. Then our first record came out. We kind of broke up for a while, and then CBGBs happened. So we went to CBGBs. Our first time playing CBGB was packed, and people knew the songs. And I was, whoa! It's like.
Did you have to do audition night?
No.
Oh, that's strange.
Knew us. People knew us.
Okay, yeah.
And people knew that as far as I was concerned, nobody heard of the Dictators. Nobody knew we put out a record. But we played CBGBs, and whoa, people knew the record. And the Ramones come, hey, yeah, we love your first record. And Chris Stein, he'd come seen us before.
Chris Stein was always really supportive of everybody, all kinds of music. He was pretty amazing that way. He really was.
At one point, Chris Stein and Debbie Harry were the biggest band in the world. And I never, ever got an attitude from them that we are better than you, we're more talented. It was always, hey, you're our peer, you're our friend. and they
Debbie Harry, the least vain, gorgeous woman in the world.
Yeah,
Just no vanity, vanity. And Christine, a fan of so many people and things, always with his ears open, always at a lot of shows. They were pretty amazing, and they were also pretty freaking awful when they were playing CBGBs
Oh, boy.
until they first recorded. We would laugh at them. We just thought, I mean, let's face it, I was not into that kind of not good enough yet pop, not even punk stuff, but they were so cool.
And they're playing Madison Square Garden just a couple years later. Who would have thought?
Yeah, my second time at CBGB's was seeing the Ramones and Blondie, and it was like 15 people in the audience, and Blondie opens up, and I thought they were horrible. I mean,
I wasn't alone. But the thing is, with pop music especially, you have to be good. You can't be amateur. It better be really good, or it's ridiculous. You got to get, if you're gonna go pop, quote unquote, with punk, no wave, other forms, you got a little rock. You got a bit more leeway.
True, and when they finally got the right producer on the third album, wow. Yeah. It really came together.
After they learned how to play. And I mean, what's amazing about her is she really could sing, maybe not in the early days, but whether it was from Blondie or the jazz, when she was doing her more jazz stuff for the Bruce, she has a pretty wide range, which I wish she would have done more of over the years, but whatever. Anyway, back to the Dictators.
You play CBGBs, you have 100 people, they're singing along to your songs, and now you're like, I guess we're a thing.
Yeah, and then this is still early CBGB days. It was still drugs and crime and homeless.
Dog shit.
Dog shit on the floor.
Oh.
The stage was in a different place. It was a very small stage.
And for those that haven't been there, you just have to describe a little bit of not only the smell of CBGBs, door policy, bathrooms, and that they would disgustingly at one point cook chili back.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Describe CBGB. Yeah, describe CBGBs a little bit for people that weren't born then.
It was a bar under a homeless hotel. Hilly had this Doberman Pinscher. Was that Doberman Pinscher, I think?
Some disgusting ratty piece of
who would just shit all over the floor. So you walk in, you always had to avoid the shit. And at that time, he had a kitchen in the back, and he was always cooking chili. And that's how he did the bands that he liked. He managed the Dead Boys, and if we went to other bands, I think shirts that he would feed there. It was in a neighborhood that no record company guy would go down to. It was really a place where you could sort of get your chops together, because you would play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 2 sets a night. So you do 6 sets in a weekend. Now, previously, we were doing 1 set every 3 months or something, because there was no place for us to play. So it was a way to get your act together. And of course, there were other bands, and there was camaraderie, and there was rivalry, and there was drugs, and there was fun.
Who were some of the early bands that were playing a lot at that point? Now, are you still talking like 75, 76?
I'm talking 76.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the bands that were around.
Things started changing in 77, a year later.
Yeah. So who else was playing in 76?
Well, it was the Heartbreakers. It was Talking Heads. It was Mink DeVille, who was absolutely fantastic and doesn't get the attention that probably the best singer come out of that scene.
What great style. And also the man that named me Lydia Lunch.
Really?
Oh,
Willie DeVille. I was hanging out with Mink DeVille. I thought they were fantastic too. Remember Willie's girlfriend, Toots, 5 foot tall with the one high beehive?
The perfect girlfriend. Could you imagine another girlfriend?
I saw her tear girls' hair out as she ripped them down the gangplank and CBGBs out to the street if they liked Willie too much. So anyway, I started hanging out with Mink DeVille. I thought they were super cool. I wasn't in a band yet. And I was, you needed $10 a day back in the day, but everybody's starving. They had a space. They actually lived in fur vaults up in Hell's Kitchen. So I got a gig working at a bar for 2 weeks. I was underage. I had a fake ID, and I would steal food for them because myself, we were starving. And one day I'm walking to bring them the food before they go to the rehearsal. And literally it's like right in front of CBGB's, and Willie just goes, Lydia Lunch. And that was, it was like a disease. I couldn't get rid of it. Then it's, speaking about dog shit sticking to your shoe, but His name is, and that I wasn't even in a band yet, so that's Willie DeVille. They were pretty fucking cool. Go on, Mick DeVille, Manster.
I never saw them.
Oh, nobody's ever seen them. All right, go on.
I don't
Television.
I remember the name. I don't. They never headlined the weekend.
They were too sick and twisted. The music was really creepy. Anyway, I can't find any info on Manster. I'm still searching, but Mink DeVille, the Shirts, Talking Heads early on television.
You know how Manster got their name?
Oh, from a monster movie?
Yeah, the great monster movie.
Ah.
All right, so we got television. Who else we got? Oh, a little band called the Ramones.
Heartbreakers.
You already said that.
First, I mentioned them first.
Yeah, but that was kind of went by in a blur.
Yeah.
All right.
Heartbreakers with Richard Hell.
No, I like him better with Walter Lure. I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking.
Walter Lure wrote some of the best songs, and he was a buddy.
And let's face it, Richard Hell, Voidoids, first album, one of the best that came out of that scene. I mean, once Bob Quine was in.
No, the guitar playing was fantastic. Ivan's great,
Yeah, band was great.
Band was great.
Hell hasn't done much since, but oh well, he can't keep up with us, that's for sure.
He doesn't want to. He wants to be a writer. He doesn't want to be a rock star.
He's got to still try to keep being a writer. Then that's all right. He'll get it right one day. He wrote one great album. Hey, sorry. Look, he was one of my biggest crushes at the time, and I have to say, to me, he's kind of the biggest disappointment of that whole scene because that first album, amazing. His writing, he's writing it for the blind because nobody else wants to read it. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Okay, no comment.
I saw that you mentioned The Fast, a favorite of Wizzle Walters, and and the Please Kill Me. The Fast were playing.
Fast were big Who-ish. They had a look like the Who. They loved the Who.
But Paul Zone did everybody's hair. He did Debbie Harry's hair. He cut my hair into various styles. Paul was very talented. He made clothes. I had a lot of fun with Paul Zone. He was one of the jokesters of the scene.
Were you guys dropped after the first record?
Pretty quickly.
Okay.
It was like Epic goes, what do we do with this? It was impossible. I mean,
did they you think they shelved it or did they actually gave it a go?
No, it was impossible to market.
Okay.
There's no way to market that record.
75 was a very weird period because we hadn't really gone into the next phase, but we were coming out of the previous phase. Like we were coming out of like post-horror, like the Eagles and that kind of hippie rock, and also post-heavy rock, post-60s rock. And we were at the 74, 75, 76, even. It's kind of this weird transitional period before the next wave hit of music, so it's just a transitional period. It was hard to market anything until, record companies started saying, oh, this is something, right? Good luck. The next big thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not mad at anybody. I don't feel I was robbed, ripped off over my career. I mean, there's bad things happened. We got dropped and then sort of broke up for a while, and CBGB's is there, and we reformed, and we made a record, which I haven't heard in so long because it was really an attempt at commerciality to get played on the radio. We overcompensated, and that article, I call it Wrong Record at the Right Time, because 1967 was the year when people were willing to accept idiosyncrasies and weird bands and, hey, here's something strange. Let's hear something new. Let's hear the weird stuff. And we went kind of commercial. And we really aren't a commercial band in any way. So that was a bit of a misstep. But we did get to play a lot, opening for Kiss and all these Oreos,
amazing
Wagon and Styx and all these crazy.
I think also what might have been a deficit as far as the early Dictators are concerned is that you were too frickin' smart. The lyrics were too clever. They're sarcastic. They're humorous. They're tongue-in-cheek. And I think sometimes that's just straight over people's frickin' head, and that's part of why they didn't know where to put you or what to do with you. And especially if you're coming out of the gate at that transitional period. It's like a few years later. I mean, I thought a lot of the bands that came out of CBGBs in the New York scene were pretty fucking funny to me. some of mine included. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, of course, it occasionally made people cry. I'm not let's face it, Teenage Jesus made more people cry than laugh, but I was laughing. So I think, part of what was held against you was, and I think part of why it's so interesting that you're coming back now. And I did hear your goddamn New York song, and it's actually fantastic, Andy. It's exactly what needs to be said right now,
Yeah.
because the Dictators are coming back new and reformed,
Wow.
better than ever, because, well, let's put it this way. You kicked out a couple of clowns, but the humor remains, and it's sharper than ever.
Well, you also left for a second in the beginning, right? I mean, didn't Mark
Yeah.
Mendoza from Twisted Sister replace you for a second?
More than a second, probably at least a year.
Okay.
After the first record came out, I
Was he in Twisted Sister yet, or
No.
no?
Dictators record came out, bombed out. I'm the writer. I'm the singer. I'm going, oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I
Aw.
can't do this. I got to do something. I got to figure
Oh
out.
boy.
So, I handled it in an immature way, but
You quit.
not quick. I wasn't, but I should have stayed in there and said, let's regroup and let's move forward. That's 2020 hindsight. So meanwhile, the band's okay, let's continue. We got a new drummer because we had kicked out Stu Boy, and they got Mark the Animal, who at that time he was just Mark Glickstein.
So he's in it for a year, and what? You come back, you're like, I want to be back in the band. Get out of here, Mark.
No. They wanted me to be. They said, "Come on, Andy, rejoin the band." And then I'm seeing what's going on in New York City. I said, "Okay, let's do it." I joined on keyboards, and so this is when we're playing, opening up for Kiss. We went to England in 1977, the fall of 1977. We were there the week the Sex Pistols record came out, opening up for the Stranglers, who were the biggest band. They were, people with Sex Pistols, The Clash. No, the Stranglers sold more records than all of them. We did 5 nights at the Rent House, toured England, met Billy Idol, Joe Strummer, Mick Jones, Lemmy, all these guys. And it was really kind of eye-opening, It was like,
Right.
wow, here's the music I like, and it's popular, and these bands are on TV and are on the radio, and they're
Stars. Yeah.
as stars. In America, maybe Blondie was kind of treated like stars. Ramones were not treated like stars. Talking
Right.
Heads were not really treated like stars at the time. Television was not,
Well, also, you have to consider this. Look, the UK is so much smaller, and they had so much more weekly music press as well. And they had a lot more clubs. And the clubs were closer together. So it was the ability for scenes to form in different cities and then meet in London was a lot more available than as it still is in America. I mean, you want to make a tour of America, get in the good luck. It's still, everything is so far apart. And
Yeah.
I think that's what really helped the UK scene take off far more. And again, the diversity of the UK music scene at that time, because I mean, you can go with the Stranglers, the Clash, the Sex Pistols. That's just 3 examples. Joy Division, none of them sound anything alike. And again, there was this diversity of sound coming up at that time that everything was under this umbrella of, even though related by a very thin connective tissue. But because of the size, because of the music press, I think it made just everything. And that's why Teenage Jesus went to UK in 77. And we barged our way in. We didn't even have any dates. We just forced our way there. And then we actually played with Gen X. They weren't anything at that point yet, Generation X. But we just glot onto some shows because I knew, there wasn't that many people from New York that actually went to the UK or Europe that early on. However you got there, I don't know if it was your production company, but I forced my way there, knowing I'd have to be going there over and over again if I wanted to have a so-called career.
Yeah, I think your analysis of why England took to punk rock is correct. But we got there because, for some reason, booking agents thought a good booking is an English punk rock band with an American punk rock band. So we were the Stranglers, and the Dead Boys toured with the Damned, and Richard Hell toured with the Clash or Elvis Costello. I can't remember because we saw them there. So we there were America, Roberta Bailey. I remember seeing Roberta Bailey there. And the point is, wow, in America, we're playing music and there's small clubs and there's a little bit of an audience, but there it's like holy, it's like they're stars. Everybody's stars. Everybody's
Right.
getting tons of attention, and it's influencing the culture. It's influencing the arts. It's influencing fashion.
And at that point in New York too, I mean, we might have played a lot in New York, but we wouldn't play very many other places. I mean, Toronto would invite me with spoken word and music in that period between 77 and 82. But that was, that was about as far as anybody could go because it was just so difficult to get dates outside of New York, where again, like I said, in the UK and being close to Europe, I mean, even Teenage Jesus went to Berlin, went to Holland. Don't even ask me how. You can ask Beth B that, but we did it, and we went on tour with Beth B's films at the second tour. But you were able to do that. You were able to actually go there, and in America, it was just you were pretty much stuck in place unless you got that one gig, like you were saying earlier before, like opening at a university, 500 miles away for one night, one gig. Goodbye, see you later. All right, so you go to England, everything's going down there. It's about 77. You come back to New York. What goes down then? What happens then?
Mark left the band, and I took over on bass, and the band kind of coalesced in a way. Of course, Mark went on to great success in Twisted Sister. I mean,
Right.
particularly, I mean, people in America, they're big. They're really big in Europe and big in South America. And I'm friends with him. He's doing great.
Okay.
But I took over. We became a little more what the band should be. We finally were able to play our instruments. And after England, I just got really inspired as a songwriter. I wrote, some of my best songs on the record, Blood Brothers, our third record. And we made a really good record. But again, it wasn't commercial. It wasn't a success,
But you're building a cult following at least at this point.
People knew who we were. We could play LA and San Francisco. We played in the Midwest. We get people who come to see us, but the sales weren't there,
Right.
So we got dropped again.
So then what? That's it. We're done, or are you guys like, let's keep on going. Let's just keep on doing it.
Singer was a junkie, so
right.
That was not. It just wasn't happening. And then Ross joined the French band because our producer, we weren't really, sort of broke up, and Sandy was producing this French band called Shaken Street, and he asked Ross if he want to play on the record. He played on the record. They did some touring, and he met Joey DeMeo, and they formed Man of War.
Kind of Spinal Tap-ish metal. Yeah, we know what it is.
Is this when you started producing more people, Andy? Is that when you got into production at this time?
Yeah. That's actually was. I said, I got to learn. The records aren't sounding the way I want to sound. Let me learn how to do this.
Produce.
I was doing a little production, doing a little sort of side work in some studios, figuring out, learning how things work, forming bands. Nothing was really successful in the 80s for me. I was working jobs. Luckily, I had cheap rent in those days.
Right. Then
we get to the 90s, and speed metal started happening. I'm going, wow, this is kind of punk rock and heavy metal. I kind of dig this. So me and I said, to Manitoba, I said, let's form a band. Let's just do something along these lines. And I got JP, who was playing with me in other bands I had been playing with, and Daniel Ray, who ended up producing some Ramones records. And we started playing around, and then Daniel left, and Ross joined. So it was kind of Dictators, and we made a record that was kind of successful. I mean, we made a video very successful on MTV, one of these top 10 videos. And
which album was that?
It was called Wild Kingdom, and the title was And You. But the interesting thing was making the record. There was a little struggle getting money from the record company. Getting cash out was hard. So the record comes out and starts getting airplay. And all of a sudden they go, let's make a video. And they spent more money on the video than on the album. But the video was successful, but it never got up to the stratosphere, which you want. I was producing records, and I was actually starting to do records overseas. And
tell us some of the people you produced, or who were your favorite? What was your favorite working experience? Who was your favorite, and also the least favorite to work with?
Nice.
I love that.
At that time, I did a really good record called a band called the Golden Horde. They were an Irish band, and we had a hit single in Ireland. Another one of my favorite records is I worked with Walter Lure and the Waldos. The first record I did with them is, man, it's like almost as good as LillyHammer, I think. It's really a killer rock and roll record.
Walter Lure was such a nice guy. People might not realize who never met him. I mean, he was always so nice. There was something just very cool about him.
He was a very smart guy also.
So that kind of was the period where you were doing more production than playing live for you, which was great,
yes,
though. That
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it a lot.
And you're learning a lot.
Yes, so learning how to make records, traveling. I do a record in Spain, do a record in England, Ireland. I did a year where I played with the Flesh Tones. They were from my neighborhood in Queens, so I knew them from there. But they were like huge in France. They're playing at least
That's so funny how that works.
1,800 people in France. That year I was with them, we went to France 4 times. It was a fantastic experience. I love these guys. These guys were so great. So that was all good. That's things I'm doing. And in 1995 or 94, Dictators, we would play every once in a while. Every once in a while we get together, we played CBGBs. And this promoter from Spain sees us and he goes, I want to bring you to Spain. So we go, yeah, let's go to Spain. Yeah, we've never been there. And we're bigger than we ever could imagine being in America, you know? And next year he says, come back next year. And the promoter from Sweden sees, hey, you're going to Spain? Why don't you come up to Sweden while you're in Europe? So we did that. And we did a tour. Actually, we headlined. Nomads were second on the bill. And the Helicopters did their very first tour ever. I don't know if you know the Helicopters.
Yeah.
Fucking great Swedish band. And then we kept playing, and we released a record in 2001.
So what about the record that you've just been working on? And is the whole album finished? Is it coming out? Are you putting it out?
We're not
New
doing
Dictators.
We're not doing an album. I wouldn't even know where to sell an album if we made it. We'd print up 1,000 copies. It would be sitting in my basement and going, wow.
Yeah. So wait. I love and I've told people this before. It's like, you know what? You did a great song. You made a video to it. You put it up. That's what you could. That's what it is now.
Yeah. So this is the plan. We had some business. The last thing I thought I'd be doing at this time in my life is playing with Dictators, but there were some business problems that joined me, Ross, and Scott together. We're talking, and it was with Sound Exchange money. Finally got settled, and Ross goes, hey, let's redo the band. And that was in 2019, like around November. I said, okay, after Christmas, let's talk about it. That's January. So we're talking about it. All of a sudden, there's a pandemic. The best thing that ever happened to me was forming the band because it's kept me busy. So what we did, when the things opened up in June, we recorded 4 tracks. One day, we're in the studio, guitar, bass, drums, everything done, walked out, put in my computer, start doing vocals, solos, background vocals, whatever knickknacks we added on. Finished Goddamn New York, released it in January. Next song's going to be world debut on Little Steven's Underground Garage as the coolest song of the week. And then after that, we have a song that it's going to be ready for July.
So you're just feeding it out slowly, you're throwing it out to the sharks, letting them nibble, and then reeling them all in.
Yes, and then we hope to do some more recording this summer, another 4 songs. So that'll keep us going, you know, and maybe someday we'll start playing next year.
We all hope we can all start playing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The whole idea is like just to keep ourselves in the public eye as, you know, you put out a record, an album, that it's out and it's gone.
Yeah.
And we're doing a video, we do a lyric video. So
the video was great, but Goddamn New York, who did that? It was actually
buddy Jeffrey Barbier. He's great. He's done a lot of videos for me. He's really
it's pretty action packed.
Yeah, and he's doing the new one.
What's the new song coming out in?
Let's get the band back together. It's keep me busy because there's a lot of business things, odds and ends. You know, finish the song, and we're doing it over the internet. You know, we're trading files. It takes a while.
Yeah,
you're sitting next to the guy. Try this.
Yeah, I know. It's just the communication.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, I know.
Here you go. Hey, try this. I say, well, try this on the guitar, and it doesn't work. Well, it's 4 days between back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
So the whole process is really slowed down, but you just stick to it. You do it.
Well, the thing is, I mean, this past year, speaking about slowing down, we all might be active in the various things we do, but it does seem like there's kind of a thick cotton candy gauze we're walking through, just even by the example of 4 days to get a guitar part. It's a very strange period in time, and a lot of people are feeling the effects in different ways, from whether they're insomnia, anxiety, overwork, underwork, can't get out of bed. It's just a weird time. And the thing I'm calling it PTSS, post-Trump stress syndrome. It's like that shit's over, but not really. We're still suffering in some philosophical and psychological and physical way from all the puking we've done for the past 4 years.
Yeah, well, I feel like I have more time on my hands now that Trump's out of office, because like every day was some new drama.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta watch the news. What's happening? I gotta watch it.
One new drama, like 1,000 per day.
Right. So I feel I don't have to watch the news, 24 hours. I can see what's happening. I can check Twitter. What's happening?
I'm going to wait for the orange jumpsuit to come out on the orange clown and get him to walk right to where he belongs, down to Rikers.
Well, we'll see.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Who knows?
He's got a lot of problems coming up on him, I think. what I'm reading, what I'm hearing.
Do you have anything on the books? Like, are there any like festivals or anything like that are basically like down the line that still haven't canceled? Do you have anything that's?
No, we haven't booked anything. Ross actually is going to Russia on some kind of a tour with some heavy metal guys and some symphony orchestras.
Whoa!
He's got some connection there.
Weird.
I'm not like, oh, I gotta play soon, because we'd have to. We might have to add a guy to the band or something. I'm concerned right now. I take it step by step. Right now, I want to get the songs ready to go, be released on the 12th. It's up on all the
platforms.
The digital distributor has it. It will be released on April 12th. Working now on getting the next video together. After that, start working on the next song to be released.
Well, the thing about you, Andy, is you have many different styles of songwriting. I mean, between like the more punk, metal, heavy Dictators, the more sarcastic kind of Dictator song, your own songs, which can be humorous and to some degree almost a piss take. We did a song together. Jasmine Hirsch shot the video. It's quite sexy and great song that you proposed. It was kind of the rent I should pay you for all of the taking in you did of me when I was a nomad. And so your range of songwriting is pretty diverse, and the same reason probably why you were able to produce a bunch of varied types of music at the time, because you're not really one thing. And I think that's what keeps kind of both of us a bit fresh and spunky.
Yeah, I really think that one way I was able to survive was that I'm not just a songwriter. I'm a musician. I'm a producer. I do all these different things. I'll play. If you want to play, I'll play bass for you. I can produce your band. I can produce my own songs.
Right.
And I don't know. I have a wide variety of styles of music that I like, and I don't feel I should box myself in on anything. If I make music every day, I'm happy. That's all I care about. That I'm able to make music. That makes me happy. I like the process of making music. I like rehearsing. I like overdubbing. I like writing lyrics. I like, that's what I like to do. I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. And that's just going to keep me as a satisfied.
It's what keeps you spunky, Andy. I don't know what more to say. Tim, anything else to jump in on? Because there is so much to say. And I really recommend people also go read that Please Kill Me interview that just came out recently with you, because it really covers a lot of ground that we can't get to here in a just 1 hour conversation. And it's a pretty good overview of everything you've managed to endeavor, popular or not, in the trend at the moment or not. Look, you like we're a couple of frickin' weirdos, Andy. We do many different things. Like us, loathe us. It doesn't matter. We're going to fucking keep going. You're going to keep going, Andy?
What else am I going to do?
What else are we going to do? We're going to keep going.